If you unmute yourself.
It would really help if I unmuted myself before we actually spoke. So there you go. For those people who don't know us, I'm Sheena Cantar. That's me up there.
Wolfgang Gold. I'm
So-
not up there.
So what we thought we'd talk about today was about relationships and about not just, your spouse or your partner or your husband, wife, it could be do with your children, it could be with your business partner. We're not actually too sure. So it's just whatever relationship that you're in, that you think it's not working well, how can I make it better? So what we're going to talk about strengths and what I found out between Wolfgang and myself on the journey that we've been on. Wolfgang will be allowed to talk at some stage. And so the first thing that I thought I'd do, so this is mainly based on strengths work. So certainly for me, whenever I did my strengths, it shot me to number one in the company, a company that I've been with for 15 years and hadn't even made it anywhere near the leadership board. And the next thing, within 6 months, I am literally number one in my team in the UK and top 10% advisor. Wolfgang has his own story. I do not need to tell you Wolfgang's story. He will tell his own story. So
that wasn't in the script.
Why do we work with our strengths? What is it that's so blooming amazing about these strengths that will really, really help us? And one of the things to realize is that we're all working we've got our own little pre-programming going on. Like I arrived in this body, it's got a program. Wolfgang's arrived in that body and it's got a program. Now, for anybody who's done any kind of programming work before, anything, if you take two databases that are similar information, but the information's distributed differently, you can't just merge them together. You have to find out what's the common denominator so that when you find the common denominator, that information will then merge. And so that's basically what we're doing. I've got my own iOS system going on and Wolfgang's got his. Look, he looks so interested at the minute, doesn't he? He's got his own iOS system going on, but how do we get them to work together? So when I work with Bob Proctor, and he's always talking about paradigms for those of you who know me. And so your paradigms are it's your programming. It's your habitual behavior, and 98% of your behavior is habitual. Now, where does it come from? Well, it's a belief. Well, where did a belief come from? It came from thoughts that were told you over and over and over again. So you end up with a certain perception. So I have a perception of the world. Wolfgang has his own perception of the world. Wolfgang has his own perception of himself. And I have a perception of Wolfgang. And the same for me. So we end up walking around in our own little boxes. So Wolfgang has his own little box that he's in. And I have mine. And so, but how do you get them to work together? So here's something cardboard box. So here's something that we've drawn earlier. So this is mine, first of all, and this is when I will let Wolfgang do some talking. So here's Sheena here. Do we put that in front of Wolfgang there? So here's Sheena. So this is my little head here, and this is my body. And so the top 2% is conscious. So I sort of know what I'm thinking. Not really quite sure. And the bottom bit there is the subconscious, which is the 98%. And we try to figure out what is in there. How do we think? So because how we think then will affect our body, will affect our reactions, and then we'll get certain results. Now, are you getting the same results over and over again? Are you in a relationship that's just literally giving you the same results over and over again? Well, you're going round and round in circles because you're not changing anything. So what we're going to do is, here's one I drew earlier. We're going to figure out the thought pattern, that's that green line there. The thought pattern that you're in, exactly what is that? That's where strengths comes in. That's what's going to tell us what is going down here. Because then you see, here you go, here's Mr. Wolfgang's.
That is mine. Why have I got two hearts and you've only got one?
I don't know, I just decided to give you two hearts. Okay. There you go. I've just got one heart, he's got two.
Obviously, as you can see, Sheena drew that, not me. But yeah, my thought process is different and I'm thinking different. But that actually comes back to Sheena said I will tell my own story, so I will do that quickly as well, because she wouldn't let me talk before. So I'm from Austria, but been in the UK now for over 20 years, I think 22 years, something like that. And obviously when I grew up, my programming was different than to Sheena's, coming from Ireland, or Northern Ireland. So I had different beliefs and everything else, and then different things installed into me as from obviously birth onwards. So obviously when we met, we had different ideas and different scenarios, and then chose as well different thought patterns. But with the program, with finding out our strength, we actually could figure out how we work best together. And you can do that in your team as well. So if you have a new team, or if you're working with a team and you actually want to know something isn't quite gelling, and you want to know how you can do that and how you can actually work with the relevant people better together and working on the strengths. Most of the time we always try to work in our weakness and then try to better our weakness. But why would you want to do that? Just focus on your strength and actually make your strength better. It's the same. What's the big story? You don't want to teach a fish to climb a tree. It's not going to happen. It's his weakness, but it's not going to happen. So why would you want to do that? So with the strength program, you have a little test. Sheena can tell a little bit more about how long that takes. Anything else or the details about it doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you get 34 strength. But we're actually looking just at the top 5, which are the most important. Actually, top 6, I think we're looking today, which are the most important ones. I think we're actually touching all of them, roughly, briefly anyway, or to see the spectrum of what's in there. And how we are compatible together, how we work together, and even without our knowing strength beforehand, how we actually made that whole thing work and why we are such a good couple together.
And here we go with the strengths. So since you've just finished talking, I'm going to let you share your strengths.
All right.
See, here's something I made earlier.
So my top 6 strength is number 1 is futuristic, which...
That's for people. There you go. He can talk while I'll hold this up.
Futuristic. So I'm quite happy to look into the future and have a vision of the future as well. And obviously the person who shares the vision with me, I can interact much easier. However, number 2 is adaptability. So if this person doesn't share my vision or what I'm looking at, I can easily adapt or very quickly adapt to that person's vision or to that person's needs. Number 3, self-assurance. Self-assurance is, I wasn't quite sure actually at the beginning what it meant, but Sheena always explained to me, or I talked to her once, I do a lot of networking events. And I always struggled at the beginning to get something out of them and to approach people. And Sheena explained that's because of my self-assurance, because I'm so self-assured about myself that instead of people coming to me, they're actually, in a way, I'm giving out that vibe they're afraid of me. I have to go to them. And it's the same with network marketing or any other business I'm doing, that I actually have to do the first reach out, then the other way around. Number 4 is competition. Competition is not talking about games and things like that. Well, it actually is as well. But I'm very competitive. That's what it means. So whatever I do, whatever I get involved in, I'm quite competitive. I always want to be, want to be the winner, want to be first. I want to achieve the best that I can do. That'd be in cycling when I go out with my friends, in the gym, even if we're doing your classes together, I always want to be the best one in the class. And similar for work as well, but also in home life. There's always a little competition going on between each other, which is great. Sheena doesn't care about competition. I do.
It's not much fun for you to win, which is why when we would cycle together, I would know fine rightly. It's just like he's on a day out, like, pedaling about, la-di-da-di-da, because I'm eventually coming up. And the best thing for him to do is to find people who he could literally get better with. So he's never going to get better with cycling with me, because I've got no interest in cycling that fast. I want a wee cup of tea somewhere along the line, although he does have his coffees with his bikey boys. And including with tennis as well, which is so funny, because playing tennis with me, he's not going to beat, well, he knows he can beat me. That's not going to raise his energies or raise his game. So he's found now somebody who is really pulling out the competition. But that's brilliant, because that's when he starts to thrive. Whereas you see, that doesn't appeal to me at all. You want to win, you crack on. Like, I'm really not that bothered.
Number 4, relator. So easily to relate to people, and that really goes hand in hand with the adaptability as well. I think there's more to relator. Maybe you can explain them more. Anyway. And harmony. You're best to explain a harmony, how that interacts.
Well, the harmony is really brilliant, because that's where it worked with the self-assurance. Because when he was talking about, not understanding, I'm sorry, but we have to look down here. This is our little studio, and there's 2 little cat paws trying to get in underneath the door. So we're just having a bit of a giggle there. So with the harmony and the self-assurance, it was just like, it was for Wolfgang to realize that he would actually bring balance to other people. So his harmony wants to bring balance to other people. With his adaptability, it all works in together. And he realized that if people couldn't approach him, because I said, as Wolfgang walks in with his suit, he looks sometimes unapproachable, but he didn't know that. And so when he realized then that he would approach people, he would help bring balance, it turned his whole networking around. I mean, I remember the time when you just literally went, oh my goodness, you've just cleared a lifetime of networking fears. Just like that.
Yes.
And now you can't stop him. Let me tell you, ladies, if you're out there and I would say, oh, I love that girl's shoes, he's over like a shot and going, my girlfriend likes your shoes, so can you tell me where you got them? There's nothing stopping him now, that's for sure. So it completely opened, that's it, really opened the door for you. You just, yeah.
And here we've got Sheena.
Yeah, so this is what
Why have you got a good 5?
Well, because I can remember the 6th one. But the top 5 are the ones that really meant, the reason I added harmony in for you is because that's what really played into, we needed to know what the top 10 were. And so with me, with positivity as number 1, what's absolutely great about Wolfgang is that he doesn't talk negative to me. He doesn't criticize it for some reason. He just never did. And so I completely warmed to that, which is absolutely brilliant. And so I just had to give an example of a previous relationship of mine. And so this person would have literally been negative about everything. No matter what I asked, it was negative before it would become positive. But you see, I'd shut the door. I was way off doing it anyway. I wouldn't wait. And I remember one time he actually said to me, it's like I don't exist. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Did somebody say something? And like I used that laughingly, but I didn't realize at the time that if Wolfgang is to be negative at all or criticism of me, I switch off. I don't listen and I just walk out the room. You can't have an argument with me, because if you're going to be negative, I switch off. That's what my positivity strength is. And so, thank goodness I found somebody who is, well, you say nice things to me, that's okay.
Yeah.
My woo, well, that's basically winning others over. And I mean, that's just, that's a networking skill. And I was trying to teach Wolfgang how to network through woo. And I realized that he's not that sort of person. But when I could find 2 strengths that helped him almost mimic what I do, then he was off. And he looks like he's an absolute whiz at networking, which he is. But it just took him to understand what his strengths were in his comfortable way of doing it, so that he was congruent with himself. Now, here's the thing where we do actually, it does help. And I'm really, really learning this with Wolfgang, is that I have empathy and Wolfgang has the harmony. Empathy means is that I will literally, my emotions will do that. So, okay, you might say that's typical female, but not necessarily. And so my empathy means is that I was dipping in and out of other people's feelings. And my same doing this, whereas Wolfgang is harmony itself. He's in balance. And like I was trying to get him to be like empathy and, you know, you've got to feel more. And why don't you feel more? You know,
What?
But what I realized is he's so imbalanced that I'm actually in awe of that strength. Like, that's just brilliant. So for me to learn to balance my empathy out with his harmony, that's why we couldn't have the both of us where empathy would be in a right turmoil, wouldn't we? Would be, you know, who's up and who's down or whatever. So this is where he brings the balance for me, which is just incredible. Now, the maximizer, which I think Wolfgang will absolutely love, is because my maximizer means that I'm always seeking the best. And sometimes if you can overplay these strengths, because you will overplay them, then they become very harsh and you become frustrated. If you underplay them, you end up becoming lacking in confidence. But the maximizer means that I'll always seek out the best. So when we go somewhere, you know, it's always, we want the best. And Wolfgang loves that as well. I think that's with his competition and your self-assurance and everything there, that's actually looking for the best. And the developer, because I'm a developer, I'm always developing myself. Wolfgang can't get away from it. He's not, his learner is something like way down there about 33, I think his learner was. So he doesn't want to learn the way I learn, but I love learning. And then I just love to tell him and he just loves to listen, and that's it. Well, I think he loves to listen.
No, I do love to listen. It's easier method of learning than studying and getting it the hard part.
Yeah. So how does all that work though together? So that was the thing that is showing you, you know, just that initial top 5 can be absolutely life-changing just in a teamwork situation. But when you really, really want to understand how the both of you can play well together, I'm going to share my screen with you and show you something else that I'd really like to show you. Can I make us bigger here, which would be good. Maybe down here. So what I've done is I have used all 34 strengths. Now remember, when we do all 34 strengths, what it is that there's a 1 in 240 and 40 chance, 40 zeros after that, I don't even know what that number is, that somebody's the same as you. Basically, you are so unique, it is unbelievable. And so whenever you realize just how unique you are, then you can really see what, you know, how you can be better going forward. So here we are. This is where we're stronger together, and I'm going to go through 4 sections that you're going to see. So this top right one here is where we're strong together. Like this, totally amazing.
So the left column is Sheena, the below column Axel is myself, and then we put all our strengths in order. So number 1 for Sheena at the top, and number 1 for me is at the bottom, on the right hand side.
I'm glad you explained that.
Yeah, you know, just in case.
To set the scene, because I suddenly realized, I didn't set the scene. We basically put all the strengths in here. So I've got a system to be able to do that, to be able to plot them out. So this is where we're stronger together. So can you see at the top here, we've got a ranger, activator, includer, relator, and adaptability. When I saw this, I was like, oh my goodness, this is why we get on. Now, the one thing that I really wanted to pick up on was the adaptability. This is exactly what we do. That I'll ask Wolfgang, do you want to go somewhere? And he'll say yes. He asks me, do you want to go somewhere? And I'll say yes. We could have planned to do one thing, but we'll literally move and we'll change it. Now, my adaptability is in my top 10. It's not my top 5. So Wolfgang is even more adaptable than me. I might take a few seconds to think about it, but I can change very, very quickly. And that's what I absolutely love about Wolfgang, is that he's literally, well, I was going to say up for anything, but that sounds a bit funny. The other one is that the activator, you know, that we both love just to make things happen. We don't just sit there and think, well, nothing's, you know, if I just sit here, then, you know, it'll all just happen. And it's not just one of us doing it all. We'll both get involved, and we both have our strengths as to where we love to get involved in and actually activate and arrange as well. So all of these, and because the later is in here as well, we have just so much trust for each other, and that we include each other, and that it's nothing like, well, I'm going to go off and organise something without thinking about, well, what would Wolfgang be doing? Although I would say, Wolfgang, the cycling, the cycling and the tennis, you know, he's already got it booked and he's off. No, I'm only joking, but he will always have known that, you know, where I am and that, you know, he's not leaving or anything. I don't know if there's anything you want to say there, but I mean, that just... No,
I think with the includer, we include each other to whatever activities we do. But yeah, it could well be that like with the cycling or with the tennis, that I've booked certain times where I know that it doesn't interfere with whatever Sheena is doing. For example, on a Tuesday evening, I could have arranged tennis for a Tuesday evening, but I know we've got our Thinking It Results class in the evening, so I'm not going to book anything there. Or Saturday morning, I know that there is either classes on the gym for Sheena to go, or she goes horse riding. So I can go and play tennis, go cycling. Confused now where I am. So it works very well, and then Sheena does exactly the same as well. She does include me in her thinking as well, and not just, oh, it's an afterthought. And that's the same with you know, when you have a team as well. If you have something like that in there, absolutely fantastic. What was also interesting is obviously on the flip side. So that's what we just talked about, the positive. Mentioned the negative very quickly as well, and there are 3 in there really that stand out. Which is obviously discipline. So we're both lacking discipline.
Well, we know we let each other off the hook.
Yes.
That's basically what we do. We let each other off the hook, don't we?
Yeah. And context. Yeah, I'm not sure about the context side.
Well, context means is that, whenever people are really deep in context and say
Oh, that's the past.
That's
Talking about the past.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah.
Got it. Yeah. We both not linger out the past. So the past is the past. It happened. Let's move on. We don't go over it. And even if it happens, 2-3 days ago, we had an argument or whatever. Should we ever have one? We wouldn't actually go over that or bring it up again, or like normal the what females normally do in a relationship. Whatever happened, I'm generalizing now. What happened 10 years ago that suddenly comes up in an argument. That doesn't happen with us, which is a great thing. So we don't really not fussed about the past. Yes, we like to look back on the positive things when we, the holidays we've done together and stuff like that. Absolutely, we reminiscent of that, but not on the negative side. We only look at the positives, not on the negatives.
I would love to tell any other men out there as well who like to bring up the past. I would just like to balance this out. Thank you very much. Before you get any hate mail. So that's that's one of the things. It could even have happened. We're very quick to get over things. So our type of arguments, basically, I keep saying yes and Wolfgang says no until I win. So that's basically it. I mean. We just keep saying the same thing over. Yeah. We don't raise voices or anything like that. So it's just it would be over very quickly, and we've already moved on to where are we going, what are we doing, and what's next kind of thing, which is absolutely brilliant for us. What I find is interesting in here is that we've got achiever. So even though it looks potentially to the outside world that we are achievers, that's not what drives us. That's not what gives us energy. So achiever would be somebody who you want the title, you want the recognition, you want you just want that title, and that's not something that drives you. And I think what drives you is certainly your vision.
Yeah, it's more the vision that drives me to achieve where I want to go. Titles, I think it's more you bow down to pressure in society that you want to have titles. And it was certainly in the past with me as well that I need to have a certain title in a certain role, which doesn't really mean anything. And it's absolutely pointless having that title. And it doesn't mean you earn more, you are something more. Not at all. So it's more, for me, that drives me more is now that the future and my vision and where I want to go and what I want to achieve in life.
And I mean, these ones that are here in the middle, these are just more like they're sort of sitting in no man's land, really, where we're strong. We're neither strong nor weak with them, but you can see that, we are good communicators with each other. Although actually, when I say that, whenever I speak and say something, it's really quite funny because Wolfgang, obviously, if you can imagine that he's been brought up with the German language and an Austrian dialect. And then whenever I say something in English that I have a certain vibration over, it's almost like there's a translation going on, even though you've been speaking English since you can remember. Sometimes there's a little bit of a difference as to what that is, but we're very good at, you want to understand, well, what do you mean?
Yeah. And I do ask them what the meaning is, because yes, like you said, the vibration what used when you say a word is different than I might perceive it. Or I would say it, or if I translated word like for like in German, it sometimes actually means something completely different.
So I think with these ones, we definitely take these on board with each other, at different times. Sometimes you're more focused. So these are just sort of like stuff that we do, but we're not really, so great at it. It's just sometimes you're better at it than I am. One of the things here is just like, so at the bottom here is where what Wolfgang brings to the relationship. And so this is where you are. And this is where I see, the self-assurance that Wolfgang is definitely somebody for me to go to and feel comfortable with. And that I know that, and look, actually linked in with the harmony that you bring balance to me. And sometimes you can bring out the competition, but I'm not really, if you bring out too much competition in me, I'm not really interested. But that competition is good for both of us. So it's good that one of us is competitive. And wasn't it funny how Wolfgang said and described this graph to you, whereas I didn't? Can you see that Wolfgang has the analytical? So he brought that, and this one here, this restorative, wow, this is awesome. But this is Wolfgang is the problem solver. In our house, if you say one thing that you need, Wolfgang has it ordered and it's at the front door. Literally, you'd say it one day and he's on the computer and he's found it and he's ordered it through Amazon and it's at the door. And even my son can't believe it. He's just like, wow, you just say something, the next thing it's there, What's this one? Consistency. Yes, you do actually. You do bring consistency. You bring consistency with money. So thank God somebody does. and you do have lots of different ideas. So you do bring the strategic and the significance as well, because you make me feel significant in your life. But you do that to other people as well. So when Wolfgang is having a conversation, I notice with him that he does make other people feel significant. And I think that's really, really important. So that was me talking about you. Did you see all that in you?
Yes, yes, most of it, yes. But if you don't, obviously, then that what Sheena brings to the relationship is up here. So obviously, as you mentioned before, the learner, she's very much the learner, and she likes to learn. And as you can see, mine is quite at the bottom, which is, interesting, but it's quite good. She learns and she teaches me after, which is great. In an easier way than actually learning as such. Where's the mouse gone? There it is. And you've got the maximizer. You talked about the maximizer already. Connectedness. So I'm not sure about that.
Well, that's where, I'm always making sure that, well, just like this morning, what did we do this morning? Because you said that I would be more romantic than you. Remember, let me tell you what we did this morning. I had a certain dream, and it was a dream of and there was a love song in the dream, and I was trying to remember what the love song was. And so I was searching through it and I found the song. And so then I connected the dots between the song that I sang, that was sang in my dream, and Wolfgang and I had a dance this morning in the kitchen. Yes. I mean, that's just the connectedness of just, making sure that we stay connected. And that's what I help to bring to the relationship, and sometimes I just point it out to Wolfgang because he can't see, and his adaptability just goes, okay, that's really good. Do you see how well we work together?
But I think that is, if you have a team or in your relationship and you want to know about that, obviously, let's do the strengths test, both the couple or the team. And then we can plot it in like that as well, and really talk you through what it all means. And Sheena can, not me. What it all means and how you can work together, and how it all makes sense then.
So if you're really, in a relationship and you're like, oh my goodness, I didn't know all these amazing qualities about my partner. This is what we've got in common. Because to begin with, you think you've got nothing in common. And I dealt with two CECs, and they had achiever in competition, and they realized actually what they had in common was their strength, whereas before they were literally in competition with each other, rather than accepting and realizing just where they worked really well together, where they were both weak on, and there's no point in, it's actually just like you can work on it, or you can just pull somebody else into the team who can work in that area for you. The key areas here that Wolfgang brings, and for me to appreciate just what he does bring to the relationship, but then for Wolfgang to be able to see just what I bring to the relationship. And when we were able to do that, then you can start working together, and that appreciation of another person and just how you can work together is just absolute gold dust. You no longer see this body in front of you. You absolutely have an appreciation for who that person is and how they think. And there's no point in trying to get Wolfgang to think like me. I mean, just look at harmony and empathy for a start. I mean, Wolfgang's down here with his harmony, and I'm up here with empathy. They're so far apart. But together, he can help me bring balance, but I can also help him not to be too closed and to understand his feelings as well around certain things. So that's how we work well together. So that is...
It's just funny that my analytical is down here, but your input is up there.
So I guess I give you the information and you analyze it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we could sit here and this conversation can go on and on and on, but you can imagine how deep you can actually get into this conversation with each other to really understand. But the first key thing is that you understand yourself. Because when you understand yourself, then you're more open to I didn't even know that about myself. And then you're able to literally go, well, now I can understand Wolfgang, and I'm more open to understanding how he thinks. And if I can work to his strengths, like futuristic and adaptability, I mean, I absolutely just love that, because I can talk about a vision and be so positive about it. And he's all in, like he's all in. And then the adaptability is just like, it just means anything can happen. And that's the adventure.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. So
Good.
that's really about it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to go back on the private Zoom. So we will come off the live and finish there. And if you want to know any more, just private message me. I will put a link up for the strengths, so you can go in and find out how other companies have done it, or how to work with relationships. I'll put that link up after. But other than that, just private message me and reach out, and we will see you soon. I will just stop the live there. Oops, put us back on there. I will now stop the live, and I will see you later. Stop live screen. And